Oh, why is my camera like this? I quite literally, like, why? I had adjusted it right before I started streaming. Yeah, it's still messed up. Why? My cam never works. It really doesn't, and it makes no sense to me, like, at all. There we go. Saturation, the exposure was too high. My white balance. Is my white balance broken? Also, everybody, let me know how the audio is. Like, let me know if I need to adjust, like, music and stuff. Like, if it's too loud, or if my mic isn't loud enough and all that. Because I removed the filter that would, like, automatically lower, like, the desktop audio when I would talk. I removed it because it would mess up a lot of the clips that I had and stuff. Oh, hi, Cam Hoodie, welcome to chat. Hello. Give me a bit, my camera hates me. I'm fixing things really quick. I don't understand as to why my camera hates me, but it does. That should be it, hopefully. The music might be a little too quiet, I'm gonna be completely honest. I think that's better. But yeah, chat, we have been accepted. Music sounds good. Okay, thank you. Hope the levels are good enough. It's weird, like, having to, like, make sure everything's okay now, because I wouldn't have to worry about it, because it would automatically lower when I would talk. But that's not the case anymore. Oh, let me skip this one, actually. Keep this one. Thank you, Goopy. But yeah, chat, we were recently accepted into a new SMP, and I'm very excited to play on it because there's a lot of cool creators there as well, like content creators and really cool people. Shout out to Just Jenna and chat, because it is their server, and they invited me because they thought I was cool enough to be a part of Mania, and it's been a blast so far. I've only been on for, I believe, 2 full days now, but it's been super fun. It's been super fun. Okay, chat, we are going to go... Where's spawn? Where was that? I heard music. Is it in here? Whoa. Oh, this is impressive. This is so cool. Gotta say. Oh, Simon's in chat. Hi, Simon. Yo. Wait, I want to go down there. This is cool. I'm not gonna lie. Wait, I have no way out of here. That's bad. So cool though. Never mind, I could just get out this way. Everything right now. Bop, bop. Bop, bop, bop. There we go. That's so cool. No wonder I kept hearing music. I'm just like, what is that? This is new to me? Is it? That's so cool though. I like it a lot. I thought it was super cool. Hi Kaz, welcome to Mania. It's Cat! Hi Cat. Yo. I'm heading the wrong direction. Oh, spawn's over there. Okay. Like main spawn area. Hi Cat. You see each other, Cats in chat. It feels just like I'm in Jenna's chat right now. Yeah, don't mind me not being able to get anywhere. This is normal. I still don't really know all of the areas of spawn as I'm getting used to it. Hey look, that's the place I live in. As music might be a little loud. Got you, okay. Let me get to a place where I won't blow up the water. Yeah, Cat, I don't know if I've told you, but for the meantime, until I build my house, I actually live in your dirt castle. My spawn is like there and everything. Is that any better, Jenna? Hopefully. Damn, the server makes me want to build more on ours. That's what I'm saying. It looks so pretty. It does. It's so cool. Yeah. It's super cool. I really, really like it. I finally got full another. Cat's never on anyways. That is very... as sad as it is true. Okay, okay, it's good now. But yeah, that's Cat's dirt castle. Very, very impressive. I live there in the meantime before I build my own house, which I have no idea when I'm gonna do, if I'm being completely honest. I'll get to it eventually though. But yeah, this is Spawn. Let me show you one of my favorite like things about Spawn. The pronoun board. I remember seeing this in one of Jenna's streams, like back when I started watching them like more and more, and I saw this pronoun board and I was like, wait, this is actually really cool. I want to implement this in my SMP as well. I haven't yet, but I really, really like pronoun board. Super cool. See, there's Jenna. Where's Cat? Am I blind? There's Cat. And then there's mine. As soon as Jenna had whitelisted me and I got to see Spawn and everything, the first thing I wanted to do before I was eventually would be killed was actually put up my pronouns. I'm gonna dip right now because I'm driving home at the moment, but I'll be back once I get home for sure. Be safe if you're driving right now, please. Yeah, it's super cool. So many cool things here, like that. Where's he at? I still love the dirt castle. Super impressive. Oh, these builds are so nice. Where's the other one? Oh. Where's he at? Is he this way? He might be this way. Where is he at? That's not it. Where is he at? Where's the Technoblade? Oh, it's over here. It's that direction. God, I cannot remember where things are, so I have to place them down on my map. No. Wait, that's the wrong area. It's the other end. No, it's this way. My bad. Yeah, I had the right idea. I just couldn't remember where it was. Still not used to Spawn, but that's okay. There he is. In all of his beauty. All of his glory. There he is. Love it. I messed that up. Big techno, yes. Big techno. Look at him. He is beautiful. I like it a lot. I like it. So many cool things. What else could I show? There's so many cool things. I don't think I know what that is, if I'm gonna be completely honest. Oh, so chat, so the people who don't know about Mania already, so this is, like I said before, this is Jenna's server. They should be in chat still. And similar to, well, not similar, but I know most of my viewers know about my SMP, Dragon SMP, and how it has like story and lore and stuff. So Mania does as well. I'm not really caught up at the moment because I'm like recent. like recently added and stuff. But from what I've heard and stuff, it's pretty cool. I like it a lot. And so I I asked Jenna if I could be the comedic relief character because they weren't sure if they had one already. And I think they said it's okay with everybody for me to be a comedic relief character, so that's kind of what I'm going for here. I'm giving a bad giving a bad tour. It's just I don't know where everything is like just yet, but it's super cool. Yo, hey, welcome. I'm late. No, it's all good. I've only been live for like 15 minutes. It's all good. I haven't done much except shown off spawn and stuff. Super cool though, super cool. Dirt castle. Let me actually show everybody the dirt castle. Yeah, it should be okay. I don't think we have one yet. Okay, that's good. I'm glad that I can be the comedic relief character. A recurring thing with Mania that I've noticed, there's a lot of schlap photos like everywhere. I think it's cool though. I think it's cool. Yeah, this is Cat's Dirt Castle. This is where I live. Well, not here, but under here. Actually, I should reset my spawn. My spawn is currently in the Nether with the respawn anchor. Oh yeah, it's super cool. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I've explored that area. I know Jenna's shown it on stream before. The schlap photos give it spice. you know, Simon, I've got to agree. I don't think I've actually seen this part. I'm gonna be completely honest. Like that's Dusthaven. It's so pretty. Ooh, very pretty name as well. I feel like there's a proper entrance. This is probably the entrance, but I missed it. So cool. There's so many cool builds on the server that it's like, wow. I've got to say. That's cool. I really like that. If I remember correctly, Jenna, you were saying that this place is like a community for people to live in. I could be completely wrong. Please correct me. But nonetheless, it's super awesome. You can have the beacon right here. Oh, it gives us resistance. Nice. So pretty. Wait, chat, you know what I want to do? Hold on. You know what I want to do? I am... It's a neutral zone? Ah, got you. Oh, isn't there like there's sides to Mania? Like something... Like pro something? I don't know. I think I've seen it before. I'll put my shaders on. I want to see with the shaders. I've actually never seen Mania with shaders. Like on what I've seen so far, I suppose. 32 chunks. Oof. Put that down to 16. No, thank you. Wow. Okay. 100% prettier. Dang. Done. Whoa. Yeah, there's kind of like different factions. Oh, okay, factions is the word I was looking for. That makes sense. Look how pretty this is, chat. This is really cool. Look at that. The shadows make everything. So cool. But I want to go back to the main spawn area with the shaders on. Whoa. I didn't expect that to be there. Leave in Dusthaven. Oh, there's a mine. And then I'm supposing... Welcome to Dusthaven. Okay, nice. Dang. Look at that. That's so pretty, chat. I'll take this one. I don't know what this is. Even the water is pretty. I like it. I like it. Hot air ballooning, I'm guessing. So cool. Oh, wait, I want to see the dirt castle. I haven't seen what shaders. Bunnies in chat. Wait. I just realized because that is there, I have to move chat. Chat, you are gonna go. Shoot. Ooh, okay. How am I gonna have this set up? What if I do? It looks kind of weird though. Because I had my follower and sub thingy on my left side, but I noticed that a lot of the gimmicks that I would do in my SMP, like whatever, like stuff right here, if somebody died, you wouldn't be able to see it because it would block it. So I moved to this side, but I forgot that my chat is on the right side. I could do. Because if I press tab, wait, my thing. If I press tab, if I put my follower thing in the middle, you won't be able to see it. I really should have experimented with this, like before I started it. But I'm gonna be honest, I forgot completely. That you know, that's okay. Oh wait, Dirt Castle. Oh, look at that. How pretty this is. So pretty. What is this? Oh, it's a sugarcane farm as well. Not a sugarcane, bamboo. Wait, bamboo and sugar. Oh, Bunny, thank you for the 25 bits. Much appreciated. So cool. I mean, not. Fine shot. Oh, it is dark in here. Even with my brightness. How close is the Rambo thing? Whoa. Thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. God, there's so much going on right now. Put that up there. Minix Sway? Thank you for the follow. I probably butchered that. Okay, yeah, it is a lot closer than I thought. I can hear it. Huh. Katie is very swag. Thank you for the follow. I like that name. Katie is indeed very swag. That's so cool though. Min is fine? Okay, min. Got you. Got you. Look at that. Oh wait, is the sun about? I think the sun's about to go down. You know what this means, chat. I have Phil's resource pack on. Oh, hey. You guys saw it already, but not with the shaders. But it's super cool. So many cool things. Even the sheep. Look how many sheep. Look at this. This is so cool. I don't understand why there's a pig here, but you know, he's fine. He's special. I think he's special. What's this? I don't have a trident just yet, so I can't do anything like with water. Oh, speaking of water, actually, my armor. I'm very proud of my armor. I spent pee pee poo poo check. I got you. That's the wrong scene, bro. There it is. There it is. Let me drink some water really quick. Pee pee poo poo. There he is. There he is. Mania SMP? Yeah, it's the new SMP that I've been a part of for 2 days now. Very awesome. Let's go. But yeah, my armor. I'm very proud of it. I spent the entire first day of like me being in Mania SMP just strip mining. Redeem stretch. I got you. I got you. I had spent the first day like strip mining, getting all of my armor and stuff. And I got enchanted full diamond like near the end of the first day or something. And then I went netherite hunting. You're making an SMP? No. This is a different SMP that I'm a part of. I already have an SMP. Frank, remember Dragon SMP? That's mine. But no, this is another SMP that I'm a part of now. It's super cool. So my armor itself is almost like completely maxed out. Only what? Oh. Jenna, Jenna joined. Dang it. Person's a part of 3 SMPs. I'm only really 2. I'm not active in the other one that I used to be in, just because the server itself is like super laggy. So I'm gonna say 2. It is Jenna. Like I was saying, my armor. So my chest plate and my leggings, I'm pretty sure those are maxed out already. My helmet, I suppose my helmet is already maxed out as well, I believe. Only thing I need on my boots is Feather Falling 4, because that's the max, and then I need Soul Speed 3. So I have, actually, if I go to my ender chest, I have, where's it at? Feather Falling 4 book already. I have that. But I need to get a Soul Speed 3 book, because that's one of the last things I can add to my boots. And in order to do that, I have to barter with piglins, which I have enough gold for and stuff. So I'm pretty sure that's gonna be one of the things that I do whilst on here. Of course, you know, if I don't have anything like that Jenna wants to show me, because I know they just hopped on right now. Speaking of the nether, where's the portal? That's the portal, okay. We're gonna be going there. Look how, wait. That is, that's not supposed to be the sky. Oh, chat, something is wrong. The sky is supposed to be as pretty as Phil's resource pack. That's not it. Shaders, other options, reset. Did it not work? Why isn't it showing filters? That's kind of weird. I'll have to fix that later. Actually, let me turn it off for now. Here's go back to regular. Because going into the nether and the end with shaders is terrifying, so I'd rather not. But yeah, we should. Okay, now it looks like how it's supposed to. I don't know why it doesn't do it with my shaders. I have to fix that again. We're going to be going into the nether though. The nether is really cool. Look at this. This is just the entrance. So from what I remember, Jenna was saying that when they first went into the nether, they spawned super close to a fortress, which is right there. And then if I go, I believe that way, there is another fortress. If I remember correctly. Do I have a boat with me? I don't. Oh, hi. There she is. Kyochi, hydration check. I got you. Hi, Nat. I love you too. Okay, Jenna, what's the plan? What's the plan here? Do I hop into VC? Do you... I just realized my tread is missing. Yikes. There's... Not much of a plan. I'm not along for a moment, but I thought I'd say hi. Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. Would you want to hop on VC for the meantime that you're on, or would you, like, rather just stay like this? Might be in your ender choice? Sure? Okay. I got you. Mania, right? I'm pretty sure.
Hello.
Hi.
Wait. Fuck, I forgot to mute. Sorry, I forgot to mute your stream. And I'm just like, I can hear so many different things going on right now.
That's funny.
God.
Is it in your interest?
Possibly. Hang on. That's one. Okay. Okay. You can have your ender chest back now. Just give me a second. I'm just emptying out my inventory real quick.
Gotcha.
I got way too many ender pearls.
Be like that.
Welcome to Mania.
It's good to be here.
I can't remember what I was going to say. I was going to say something. I'm only here for a little bit for now, and then I'll be back on later.
For sure.
Maybe not on Mania, but...
Right, because aren't you going to be streaming later today as well with your hardcore world?
Yeah, probably my hardcore world or some speedruns. I don't know yet.
Gotcha.
This ice highway is so scuffed. This fortress here is a scuffed fortress. A very scuffed fortress.
Really? No.
Yeah, because it's just a mess. It's a complete and utter mess.
Yikes. I think I actually went into this fortress before I went netherite hunting, because I wanted to get some blaze rods to make some fire resist potions, but I never did.
Yeah, this one is so scuffed. It's just an absolute mess.
Aww.
I want to clean it up, I think.
Ow. Love being on fire. Come on. A gas as well, bruh.
It's so scuffed. You see what I mean?
I see what you mean now. It would be fun if I didn't die. Jesus Christ.
Are you low?
No, I'm not. I keep getting on fire. That's annoying.
I just want to clean it up. But in saying that, oh, I'm low. I need to heal.
Please do. Bruh, I'm on fire again. I just said I didn't want to be in fire. Phoenix!
But in saying that, if you follow... Oh my god. If you follow me...
Where'd you go?
Up here. Look up.
Oh, okay.
If we go back to the other fortress...
Oh. Please!
Why?
I hate this fortress.
It's so bad!
I hate this.
It is so bad.
Actually, I'm gonna kill you for magnetism so I can use more. bruh. Wait, Luna, I'm gonna use a fire potion now. I'm tired of this.
I don't have one on me.
I have another one if you want it.
Yes, please.
I hate this.
I'm so over this.
God. Okay, there we go.
Okay, let's go.
What's happening? Jenna, the owner
It's just
of
a death
this,
trap, this fortress.
the owner of this SMP is just showing me around a bit. Hate this fortress so much.
Yeah, I'm just getting some blocks.
Oh. Oh. Uh-oh. Oh, okay, thank God that aggroed on me. I thought I hit them on accident. I was about to cry.
Hate it here. Can't have shit in Mania.
Like Mimi says, all Mania does is cause pain.
It literally does. All Mania does is cause pain. Legitimately.
God. Yes, Phoenix. This is a brand new SMP that I've been a part of for about 2 or 3 days now. It's very awesome. Oh, thank God the fire potions were the 8-minute variations.
Yeah, I don't brew. I don't brew anything less than 8 minutes.
Okay, that's
unless
fair.
it has to be.
Gotcha. Yeah, Phoenix, it's super cool. I love it.
So this one's the more tame one. You won't find wither skeletons here for some reason, or barely any. I think there was one. No. But if you go down here, I think it's down here. Oh, there is a wither skeleton here.
Cool.
Didn't drop a skull though.
That was bad.
I think it might be through here. No, hang on. Oh, there's a few of them.
You're set off for a bit now, but we're in the nether? Yeah, we are.
I can't remember where it is, but there is a farm somewhere.
Yeah, Jenna's just showing me the nether and stuff.
Popping off with the wither skeletons for once. There's never normally ones here.
Whoa!
What?
What up? Jen, thank you for the raid. Oh, it's awesome. How was your stream? How was your stream? No, it was just my friend raiding me from her stream. My bad. I muted really quick.
Hello, raiders. Welcome. Okay, so yeah, I think it's here, over here.
Did I lose you? Oh, I did.
No, come back the way you came.
Okay. Oh. Okay, they're aggroed at the... Oh, there you are. They're aggroed at the skeleton that shot one of the pigments.
Shit, where is it? Unless I destroyed it.
Hi Jen, thank you for the raid again.
So many blazes.
How was your stream? You were playing Bed Wars, right? Did you win any games?
Hello? Oh wait. Oh no. I don't know where it's gone.
Hold on, give me a bit. I need to adjust my monitor brightness because it's too low.
Okay.
That should be good. Because I have two bright like ring lights in front of me right now, so it's kind of hard to see like my
Yeah.
screen sometimes, especially in the Nether.
Maybe. No.
It was fun. I won absolutely zero. LMAO, one of
Behind you.
those.
Oh, wait,
One
wait,
of these
here it
days. Gotcha.
is.
Oh, hi. I didn't realize I was here. Whoa.
Blaze Farm.
Whoa. Holy shit.
So you stay here.
Gotcha.
Watch them come down.
Sure. Oh, there they are.
And then you can come down here and then they'll be down here.
Let's see.
But they're obviously it's not here at the moment. I can hear her with the skeleton. Oh!
Fuck him, Jenna. Fuck him up. Nah, that's cool.
Yeah, and they'll be down here and you can just collect blaze rods. Do you want blaze rods? I have 15. I don't need them.
Yes, please. I'd very much like some. Oh, there's the achievement.
Achievement hunting.
Yep.
I make things fun for myself.
Uh-oh. Good job, Jenna. Oh, he's dead. Oh, gold. I yoinked that. I need more gold, especially if I want to get Soul Speed 3 to finish my boots. Because I think the boots are the last thing I need to finish, like, enchanting, and then it's max.
Yep. I wouldn't even bother with Soul Speed 3 though. That's just like too unnecessarily fast.
Oh, I mean, I love it. It's a lot of fun being able to go fast. Whoa. What the?
I find weird things every time I'm down here. This must be another right line.
Most likely.
See.
This is only Y level 30, so... Oh, Striders.
Maybe it's like a shortcut somewhere.
Maybe.
Just goes down. Still, well, very low Y level.
That's true. Oh. Now my fire rest is about to run out. Be careful.
You know, even if you die, you get to keep your stuff in the Nether.
That's true. And the end as well, right?
Yeah, only in the overworld is keep inventory off.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's the only reason why my death counter's at 2 right now. Or, well, it was at 1 because of you, because you smacked me off, and then the second time,
Yeah.
I was lost when I went ancient debris hunting. I'm like, you know what? I remember Jenna saying keep inventories on the nether end. Let me just die really quick. It's so crazy how there's a bastion like super close to the fortress where you spawned in.
Yep, it's crazy, hey. I just navigated that. I've been, like, this bastion used to haunt my dreams.
Really?
I'd get stuck in it often. See, there's the fortress. There's the hub.
I forget whose base this is. Pretty sure this
And
is
then Lawrence's base.
I don't believe I've met I don't think the only people I've like really met on Mania like in game has been Amos, Mimi, I've been seeing Cat on the server, you of course, and then Kim. Do a flip. Oh god. Yeah, those are the
Do you
only
know what the
people I've
funny
seen.
thing is? I'd be able to get to that island before I actually died from fire.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Then you can go up, as you already know.
Mm-hmm. Of course, the viewers don't. This is my first stream on Mania.
Yes. So we've built above bedrock. Oh, is that a new Schlatt photo?
There it is, chat.
That is a new
More
Schlatt
schlats.
photo.
Oh, that is new. Oh, they replaced the fish. Bruh. I liked when the fish was there. Look at this shit, chat. So cool this is. Oh my god. Somebody said glat. Bruh.
Oh my god. You will find a heap of penises everywhere. Don't go in there.
Okay.
Not on
Schlatt.
stream.
Schlatt, my beloved.
And then you just have a random portal one way. That just takes you closer towards the trading village. But
Oh,
this
it does?
one,
Ooh, okay.
yeah. This one is the
Oh,
one
that's
that takes you
right.
to the end.
Chat, you have to see this. This is fucking awesome.
Oh, of course I just ran out of food.
Feels bad. Oh my god, they're saying glat in chat now.
Glat. Do it, glat. Just
Glat.
spam glat, chat.
Oh
Spam
no.
glat.
My chat will. That's the best part. It absolutely will. I don't know what's wrong with my chat. Look at this, guys. This is fucking cool.
Hey, they're spamming it.
Oh my god, thank you, Jenna.
You're welcome.
Look at this. There's the portal.
Boop.
And then if we go in, I'm assuming that was the old Enderman farm.
Yeah, there's like 3 of them. There was.
Hmm. Oh. Guess that's just gonna stay there. Look at this chat. Look at this. To all the Dragon SMP viewers, this probably seems very familiar to everybody. I like it though. I like it because of the fact that
It's insanely OP.
yes, and that there's an enchanting thing right here. I should probably add that to mine as well soon. Why?
Oh, there's a grindstone now too.
Oh, nice. Any extra books?
Is that my ender chest? I don't know where my ender chest is gone.
I see crafting tables. The first thing that comes up to my mind is Mimi. Mimi put all these crafting tables here.
You ain't wrong. I think that must be my ender chest.
Are you sure? Because that one's always been there.
This one here, yeah, but not this one.
Oh. Wait, do you not have an ender chest on you?
No.
Okay, so that most likely was yours, because from the last time I was on, you were the last person that was using the enchantment. I could be wrong, though. Oh wait, I should probably...
I really don't need these levels. I'm at 103, but...
Let me heal my sword, and then my... Oh, never mind, actually. The only thing that has mending, like, out of my tools is my fortune pickaxe, and then my sword, and then my armor. My armor's already healed.
So, for, like, future reference...
Whoa.
This here is a hopper system on a timer, like a clock system, that will automatically dispense. So if you turn that on, and then like kill an enderman, for example, it will spit out... Ah, hang on. It will spit out ender pearls in the bottom here.
Gotcha.
When it's full.
Gotcha. Yeah, with in Dragon, I have one similar to it, but rather than it spitting into the lava, it just spits into the void. Yeah, it's one similar to where it has a hopper system as well, so it doesn't lag the server. Because that's happened
Yeah.
way too many times, and I can say.
Pretty handy.
Very much so. And then chat, look at this. All these chests, double chests, I should add, just ender pearls.
That's how OP this thing is. It's ridiculous.
True, true. Have you seen some of Dragon SMP streams?
I think so.
Okay. So have you seen like the community house and have you seen our Enderman farm? Our XP
Possibly, yeah. Possibly.
Farm? Nice. Oh, that's right. Mimi gave me an infinity book. I just need punch 2. I can get that at the villagers later.
It's so satisfying. I love this thing.
So good.
As soon as I can, I'm building this. I was gonna say, as soon as I can, I'm building this in my hardcore world.
Please do. It'd be so useful. Be like, be like Philzo when somebody has enough channel points to redeem it. Go to, go to his farm and then do
into
the
an ear
right
check.
ear. Yeah, the ear checks.
Yeah. So the reason why I built this is because I've been really into watching Phil's hardcore world on YouTube, like the highlights. And I was just like, okay, I want to build this. So I literally built this from memory after watching Phil's stream or YouTube video.
We love Phil's in Minecraft here.
We love Phil's in Minecraft. Okay, well, I need to leave for a little bit and do some stuff.
Gotcha.
I will probably be back on in like 2 hours if you're still on. I don't know if I'll be on Mania though. But I will talk to you later.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Bye. Bye, chat. Nice meeting yous.
Say bye to Jenna, chat. Bye.
Goodbye.
She's pretty cool, chat. She's been very helpful with like giving me a tour guide and stuff. Because obviously she knows her layout of their server and stuff. Super cool. Yeah, everybody who's watched Dragon SMP, this is very similar, except we don't have an enchant like place like this over there, which honestly I might make just because of how cool it is and like how useful it is specifically as well. And I most definitely have enough books to like make bookshelves out of it to like make it max enchanted and stuff. But it's super cool. And then if we go over here to the main, like portal where you fight the dragon and stuff, I'm pretty sure they aren't going to fight it again because they made it look all pretty. Look how pretty this is. This is the portal. Super cool. Let me go back. Back in Cat's castle. Because it's the place that I live in right now. Sunny's on. I've had a lot of interactions with Sunny, especially in Jenna's chat because they're a mod. Oh, I was going to go to the Nether. It looks beautiful, right? It's super cool. There's so many creative people on the server who like make super cool builds like all of this. The portal thing, yeah. It's super cool. It's so cool. But yeah, I was saying at the beginning of chat that I was gonna barter with piglins because I do want Soul Speed 3, and then my Feather Falling 4 are the last things that I need for my armor for it to be max enchanted. Hydration check? I got you. Got you, got you. Thank you for the hydration check. So I'm pretty sure if I go that way, let me drink the other fire res potion really quick, just because I'm tired of being on fire. And I'm pretty sure there's piglins over there. If not, there might be some, like, close by. Piglins, not zombie piglins. Clementine Part 2? Oh, goodness. Oh, I don't even have a saddle on me. Phoenix. Maybe in the future. I might do that, like, as a part of a different stream. I'm still getting, I'm still getting used to it and stuff. Be nice if any piglins nearby. Want to barter? I got gold for y'all. That's a zombie piglin. No, actually, hold on. You like that? Thank you. I know that that's a bastion right there, but wait. Oh, that's why. Okay. My stream playlist didn't repeat. No wonder I heard music. I'm just like, wait, no, I can't play that. It might be piglins up there actually. Let me head that direction. Clementine is my son, my one and only, so maybe nah. Okay. No Clementine Part 2, because Clementine, the original, is too special. Hi, you always somehow stream when I'm in Target, but hi looks dope. BB! Hello. That's funny. I stream at like the worst times for you. Are there really not any piglins nearby? Gold. Ooh, gold though. I'll yoink that. I will yoink that. That's zombified piglin and a regular piglin. Gold is over here, isn't it? Workforce. Actually, they might be in the workforce. Okay, we're good. There might be some in this workforce. Maybe. No, it's just zombified piglins. Need regular piglins. Well, I should probably delete it. Same thing with that. Don't need that. I only really need another hub, just in case I get lost. Are there not piglins here? Bruh. They won't take gold. Do I have any? No, I don't. I don't have any gold, like, armor. So they are going to attack me. Is there really not any piglins around here? Why is it that I see so many when I'm not streaming, but as soon as it comes to stream, there's nothing? And a ghast. Where is it? Probably that way. That's a hoglin. Oh, chat, we might be close. Oh, piglin! Yes, please. That's for you. That's for you. That's take it. Yep. Kill you. No, 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 no. Here, have another one. Have another one. That's for you. That's for you. No. Ow. Yeah. Take it. That's for you. No, no. There's gold. There's gold right here. There's gold. Are you gonna take the gold? Take the gold. Take it. Okay. Well, you're not gonna take it. You're dead. Okay. Here. Have more. That's for you. Don't tell me. Where you at? You're that way. You going? Here, here, here. Gold, 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 gold. That's gold. That's gold. Come on. Here. Take it. Bastard. Bro, this is just the worst music. You not want the gold? Take it. Yeah, well, he doesn't want it. I gotta kill you. Worst thing. To get leather from you. Oh, stretch? My bad. My bad. I didn't see it. That is my bad. Piglin, Piglin, Piglin. Where are you at? Jeez. There's gotta be more in the Crimson Forest. I see more hoglins. Stupid child, you're dead, you're dead. I've been scammed. No, 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 I stretched. I stretched. I stretched earlier. You can't say you've been scammed. I stretched. I definitely up. You're a child. You stole my gold. I know you stole my gold. Another child. Get out of here. Up, there you go. Thank you. That's mine. You're dead. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, hey, yep, that's for you, that's for you, that's for you. Yep, go. That's for you, that's for you guys. He's not gonna like it. I gotta kill him. Thank you. Other man to get out, bro. Come on, there's more gold in there. Come on. There you go. I would love full speed. Obsidian? It is. What I need? Do I need gravel? Do I need salt? Ow. Okay, you got the gold. Check, I got you. Got you, got you. Are there really no other piglins besides those two? Pog? Did you redeem the highlight message? That fire res? That is fire res. Extra arrows. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get Oh, you don't have anything else for me. Oh, you're dead. Nice, good job. I wanted to spend my points. I didn't have anything else. Gotcha. Makes sense. There's a piglin right there. I don't have any more gold though. Dang. Okay, yeah, I need more gold. BB only ever exists in target. I'm convinced. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past that. I'm pretty sure she only exists in target. I need gold. Gold. Dangerous there. Bonk. Ow. How dare you. I'm stealing this. I don't know whose it is, but it's mine now. I want to live at Target. You want to live at Target. Missed that jump. I was gonna go up here, wasn't I? Yep, right there. Do I have blocks? I don't. Time to get more blocks. Don't need that. But I do need those. Oops, that's the wrong one. What's a target? What do you mean, what's a target? Forget? Target's a store. Phoenix forgot. Certified bro. How much food do I have? 37. That's a lot of food. Why are you such a relaxing streamer? I fell asleep twice? Really? Did you get enough sleep or something? Or is it just like... I don't get it. Do I have... I probably don't have enough. I don't need the fire charge. That... Bingus. I love Bingus. Bingus, my beloved. Okay, that's only 3, really. I've been scammed. Oh, I've been scammed. Never mind. That's 5. Isn't that much better though? Fuck, okay. Gold. Yes, please. Here we go. Yes, please. Plasma gives out comfy energy. You know what? That's true. Bunny can most definitely vouch because she's fallen asleep on call many times. I agree. Bruh. Fair? Yeah. Fuck that up. That's fair. It's fine. Ad time. I got you. Get that bank, thank you. Ad should be running now. I think everybody in here though is already subscribed, so I don't think it's gonna affect anybody. That's funny though. Gonna use up large amounts of points. Gotcha. Yeah, I need to add more rewards, like higher points and stuff. Or what though? I'll mess with that off stream. Yes, please. More gold. There's barely anything though. Why is there wood right there? What the fuck? Oh, I did have ender pearls. Not a lot though. It is a very good thing that I have Fortune 3 on my other pickaxe, because if I didn't, this would be really sad. Oh, more gold. Oh, even more gold. Pay less. Right here. You know what, actually? Music. Where's the playlist? Very... Oh, it's right here. So... I'm watching both streams right now. Pause. Pause this. Nah. Able Sisters. That should be a good volume. Actually no, a little lower probably. How's that, chat? Might be a little too loud. That should be good. Okay. I think that's good. Music do be epic though. Thank you, Phoenix. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. How much was that? Oh, there's 2 down there. 19. Pog. More over there. That's bad, that's bad, that's bad. We're good. Thank goodness I have prop 4. That would have been awful if I didn't. And a netherite as well. That helps. But yeah, chat, I spent the entire... Well, not entire... Well, actually, no, I take that back. The entirety of my first day on Mania just hunting, like, strip mining specifically. Got my diamond armor pretty quick. One of the members, named Mimi, they gave me some leftover books, like enchanted books that they didn't need. So that was like mending, unbreaking, and fortune. So I put all of those on my pickaxe. Because it was fortune 3. That's how I was able to get more diamonds like quickly and stuff. Damn, you were busy? I was, yeah. I was pretty busy. How much is that? 34? Yeah, I was I was pretty busy. So good though. Oh I almost... Okay. Rob Lobsterstein? Oh, you're from Mania. Thank you for the follow. I recognize that name. I am currently in Mania right now, actually. Very epic. Oh, perfect. Welcome. Thank you, Phoenix. Spiders. I don't have any saddles though. I'm so angry right now. You want to know why? Do tell. Yes, please. That's a lot of lava. Mm. Okay. There it is. Cool. Hope to see you on the SMP sometimes when I'm on. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Hopefully we could. I need to meet more people on Mania. I met that many people. Hello? What's up? I'm streaming. Okay, I love you too. Bye. Bruh. So my teacher posts a project without really teaching us what it's about. The next day, give us another project, and then another. It doesn't give us time to do anything. That's a little too much. What the heck? What were the projects on? If you don't mind me asking. What's music? Hi, people in the background. It was only my mom saying hi really quick. Is this exam? Actually, I want to play this. I want to play this for an hour or so. That's how long the soundtrack is. More gold. Yes. Yes, please. I need more gold. This is my goal for this stream. Oh, I missed it completely. What the? Oh. There it is. There you are. What? Only one? Scammed. Absolutely scammed. Oh, more. Nice. They're on like budgeting careers, but math. But what math in that career and other stuff? I don't know. The class is called Math Applications in Society. Ugh, that sounds like a very boring class. Oh, piglins. Can't take that gold. Take that gold though. My cousin's mom, I'm late. Oh, you're probably on mobile right now. That's why. It's all good. Don't worry. Oh, I'm to my fall damage. My block sound down? It is. There we go. Actually, I'm put it down a little more. That's better. It's extremely boring. Yes, I am on mobile. Gotcha. It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, that class sounds really boring. Like, sheesh. Oh, more gold over there. Nice. But yeah, today's stream is a bit of a more chill one, just getting resources and stuff that I need in Mania, pretty much. How much have you seen of Mania so far? I've seen most of Spawn. I've seen a lot of, well, not a lot of, like the Nether. I've seen the Stronghold. Wait, oh, Pog. But what do I not need? I need wool. I can get more. I've seen. Oh, nice. I've seen the end. I can't have my computer up because my mom will yell at me to do my homework and say I'm getting distracted. But I get more focused listening to a stream. But if I told her that she wouldn't believe me and threatened to take everything I have, that's a yikes. I'm not gonna get close to you. And there he goes. Okay, I'm out of here. But yeah, I get that. I haven't, well, not as much as this year, but I would usually have different streams up in the background whenever I would do work and stuff, and I would actually stay pretty focused just because I have something in the background. I didn't notice that. Okay. Life is pog. Gotta pog through the pain, Phoenix. Pog through the pain. I think I can do this now. Could be high enough. Okay, I might be able to get to the very top. Crying. Dang. Hogging through the pain. True. Okay. There we go. Oh, we need to get rid of stuff for sure. I don't need a smithing table. Take that. I can get rid of that. Oh shoot, did I miss Sister Cosmo appearance? No, she is just saying hi. She's talking with my mom right now in the background. Shoot, I'm about to get a full stack, like more than stack. There it is. Gotcha. Yeah. There we go. Now we should be able to. What the? More? What? Hydrate? I got you. Thank you, Phoenix. Very epic. We're back. Back to it. No problem. Thank you. Okay, we have another. There it is. Very epicness. Yes, I agree. Oh, someone joined. Dang, I didn't get it first. That there, this. Oh, people are joining now. Where at? Oh, you're kidding me. No. Whatever. That is fine. Trying to find one, hence the exploration. Oh, that makes sense. Pog. I like how people are on NVC now. Oh, that was barely. Chat, where the piglet? Oh, even more. I can't wait for this, like in the next summer, winter, maybe fall. Ooh. Oh, I can't wait this year, like in the summer or next winter. Gotcha. And what? I have no idea what's going on in the overworld, and oh no, one of my cosplay skins up here. Gold. Yo. Take the gold, take it. He doesn't want it because he got hit. Oh, he doesn't want it. No! Take the gold! Alright, bud. You're dead. I'm going to Disney for a week at some point this year. Oh! Nice! That's pretty cool. I don't know what's going on in chat, I'm gonna be honest. Oh, that's what they meant. The Rambo thing. It's supposed to be my graduation gift, but I'm not sure when or if we're going because my parents keep saying maybe. Oh, okay, I got you. That makes more sense. Oh. Also, is there lore going on in this SMP? There is lore, but I don't think it's happening right now. Gold. I'm gonna make some boots. Really quick. Okay, they shouldn't hit me now. I'm out jail. Breaking it down right now. I don't know what's going on in that chat. I'm gonna be honest. Okay, they shouldn't attack me. Gonna have soul speed. Please. That's not soul speed. Another piglin over there. I'm so confused with what's going on in chat. I am too. Ryan, I'm sick. Very true. Soul speed would be very nice. Fire charge, really? Still sand. Put this one for. It in. I'll take it. More obsidian? Sure. Have enough little portal to get out of here. Another one right there. Book, that's a book. That's soul speed 1. Only soul speed 1. I need 3. Nether brick, really? My nether brick. Hi. 4 portals. Calls him a bug. Thank you, Phoenix. More. There. One there. Oh. Ow. Another one. That's bad. Bad. Stop breaking your ankles? Shut up. Not on purpose. I can. Oh. 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 That wasn't supposed to happen, chat. OMG, that was so close to the lava. Oh, you're definitely behind. That's funny. That's for you. You're gonna die to my phone. I typed too soon? You did. You're dead. Mobile. That's true. Fire spot. I'm not trying obsidian. The brick. I have 15 viewers, wow. Thank you. surprised to see that many people watching. Very awesome though, very awesome. I don't want more crying obsidian. Where are you going? No, 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 no. Where are you going? Iron nuggets. I just want another soul speed book. Please. Bingus? Hi, Bingus. Duskhaven? I just saw Duskhaven today. Almost a stack of spectral arrows, pog. Those are iron boots. I just want soul speed. Please. Oh, what did I pick up? More obsidian. Bongus? Yo! Bingus and Bongus. I just want soul. Oh, he yoinked the boots. Look at him. He's got Yeezys. He's got the brand new Yeezys. The Yeezys are right here. Please, sir. I just want soul speed. 3 at least. Or even another soul speed 1 book. I can combine them. Maybe I can move. I can. There. And chat. Put that there. Yes. What's a pog time? What do you mean? Yeah, I guess chat is like okay from there. Actually, chat. I could just do this. I could make come down the other way. There's it at. Hold on. I'd be able to fix it. Full speed? Nope. Yes, I'm popping it in and out. Up. There we go. Now. There we go. Alright, chat. Spam whatever letters or whatever, like in chat. And let's see if this works. It should be to where the text come from the top and then go to the bottom rather than bottom to top. So spam whatever message you want or any letters just so I can see it. There it is. Oh, it's actually working. Nice. Oh, it does work. Nice. Okay, I could just have it like that. Have it like that. It's just another. It's just more boots. I'll have a stack of spectral arrows, bruh. More arrows. Please give me soul speed. I want to get out of here already. I want to see more of. I want to see more of Mania. Ooh, more leather though. I'll most definitely take leather. Take books. I have no idea what he dropped. Yeah, well, Bingus. I mean, I agree. Eric is the baby man. Bingua. He meant to say Bingus, but he said Bingua. God. Okay. That's not soul speed, good sir. Please. Why man? I be man, baby, baby man. Bruh. That's another quartz. So that was string at first. For iron nuggets. Oh, I want to move. What was that? I don't know what that was. Question: what days do you stream? I forgot. My days should be Tuesday, maybe Thursday at this point. I'm not sure about Thursdays and Fridays. If anything, I might do Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, just because I know Eric streams on Thursdays. I don't want to like interfere with his streams. Well, I might not do Thursdays as much, depending like what Eric wants to do. Can I please get soul speed? Please. You can stream whenever you want, BB. I'm okay with it. I mean, like I said, it depends, because I know like for instance, like I wanted to do Outlast on Thursday, but everybody else was with you doing. I forgot what the name of the game was called. So I couldn't do Outlast that Thursday. And Bunny was available that Thursday as well, but we couldn't do it just yet because we didn't have everybody. Was that more? Yeah, it's more leather. So that's why I didn't do it that Thursday. But I guess I guess I can be flexible with Thursdays, but Tuesdays and Fridays for sure I will. I don't need that fire charge. I just want soul speed. Oh, on God. Oh, that's right. That's. Hold on. Sure. This side. There he is. Hold on. Up. Fucking follower thing's blocking it. There he is. Of course it blocks it. That's not soul speed. It's just garbage. Fire charge, really? I'm getting so much trying obsidian, I don't even need this much. Legit, I'm asking for Eric's merch for my birthday. That's fair. Eric's merch is awesome. More spectral arrows. I guess I can get more. More crying obsidian? Why? More crying obsidian. Bruh, I used my stack and stack in 16. And this one piglin, he only gave me soul speed of 1. I hate this piglin. Oh. Wait. Soul speed 1. Oh, you're kidding me. Screw you. So rude. Well, I guess we'll just have to deal with soul speed too. Not fully maxed out. Or fully maxed out boots. You know what? That's fine. That's fine. Screw you. That's... There's a lot of people joining the game. Sheesh. Quite a lot of people, actually. Put that back on. That helps that way. Okay. I'm putting fire res on. Because I don't want to die. Okay. Same. I think we might be ready to go back. See what that lands me. Bruh. Yeah. Fog. Don't know where that portal leads to, so I'm not gonna go through it. Nice. I'm very much glad I put fire res. Oh, there it is. The main place, okay. See if I can get this. Not gonna make it? No. Oh, whoa. Pretty dang close though. Oh, that wasn't it. Great. Okay, thank you. But we go up here. No? Okay. Ah. Whatever. I'll just go through here. So glad I drank fire res. It would have been very bad if I didn't. Oh, there's another quartz down there. Up there. Look it up there. I guess over this way. That even stupid. There we go. There we go. Okay, now we're back up. Man, all that for nothing. Go back up though. Up. There he is. There's Schlatt. Bruh. I keep forgetting that Mania. Please don't tell me you have full netherite. I do. I do, cat. Did you not see when I was doing my other things? What, bro? What? I spent the entire first day on Mania literally like getting all of my stuff. This way. Yeah, I'm in full netherite, and might I add, cat, pretty much max armor except for my boots, which I'm actually going to be finishing right now once I get to the Enderman farm. But yeah, this is my second day, because I was in Hill. You've been on the grind? I have been. I still need to get more nether ingots to upgrade my weapons, like my tools and stuff. They're still only diamond. My sword, though, my sword is the one exception. My sword's max enchanted. Oop. There we go. Yeah, there's a lot of people on right now. Wow. Very much surprised. When I was on, there was nobody on except for Amos and maybe Kim. But they weren't on that often. I don't ever will for full armor on the SMP. I just have pants and a spoon. Bruh, it sounds like something you'd do for sure. What's your job? So, eat some food. There it is. Okay, I more than likely need 50 or so. XP. Cat's in chat. Cat's finally back in chat. Hi, Nightbot. And Nightbot says hi a lot. I gotta program him correctly. Dude, I've been seeing people in the chat I haven't talked to in months and got so happy. You'll love to see it. Oh. Okay, that should be enough. Bop. A lot of... That is a lot. I need to throw out something. What do I need to throw out? I will throw out... Put out the bottles. Put infinity back in my chest. Boots. Because if I do this and that, too expensive. No, I don't even get to have. Man. Well, chat, that was for nothing. Yep, too expensive. That was for nothing, dude. You're kidding me. Well, whatever. I have soul speed too if I want to make other boots. Or if I want to disenchant and start over. Max armor. I have feather falling 4 finally. Got thorns 3, all of my armor. Yeah. I should be feared on the SMP. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who can beat me easily. I'm gonna get at least like 20 XP, and then I'll head back. But yeah, Kat, I don't know if you were in chat when I was saying. How many do you have? Like I was saying, I don't know if you were in chat. Oh, in chat, Kat. But I was telling everybody, and when Jenna was here as well, that I pretty much live in your dirt castle in the meantime before I make my own house. One, two, three. I get 3 books. Can I get 3, please? That should be enough for my tools. Oh yeah, you did say that? Yeah, I did. I do live in the castle. Actually, now that I'm here, I might as well get 30. Cosmo the dirt ruler. Ruler of dirt. I call it cup of dirt. Okay, I don't need that many ender pearls. Little W. You got plans for any builds? I want to build, so the house that I have in my SMP is pretty much the house I want to build here. It's just gonna take forever. Poseidon quivers before them! Fuck off! Okay, that should be enough. Look at that. Look how satisfying that is. Look at that shit. $35 before. There you go. Now we can head back. Okay. Who is it this is? Opic Marcus Nip? Okay, they should be meeting me back there. Very epic, very epic. Allow my beloved. How was the music, chat? Like, can you hear it? Is it too quiet? Let me know, okay? I'm still getting used to having regular audio. Look, see, the cat. Literally, that's my spawn right there. Whoa, I saw somebody fly. That's probably the person. Oh, there's Sunny. Lao Copic was the first person challenged by Dirt Castle with their own Stony Castle? Whoa. Oh, there's Sunny. Is that them? I don't know if that's them. Look, I'm like them. Look at me, chat. I'm like them. Very epic. Yes, books. Look how Sunny's there. I've never seen Sunny's skin before. It's so cute. It is. There we go. That's better. No, this is good. Speedruns Minecraft. Doo 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 doo. Bruh. Yeah, chat. I made it. Yo, welcome back, VV. So mending. Very nice. Don't know what that is. %, done with work, can properly enjoy stream. Nice. Oh, they stole my stuff. Oh my. Bye bye. My buy armor. I'm broke again. They stole my armor. Why would they steal my armor? King stole my. They stole my armor. Chat. Actually gonna cry. Oh my god. Please, I just want my armor back. I can name them right now, actually. Ooh, okay, yeah. If I want to name it, I gotta go back to grinding. Yeah, that's the right armor. Might as well fix my stuff. I'm gonna go. Yeah. Oh, I need more XP if I want to name my armor. That and repair my tools, especially my silk touch pickaxe. That one is like 75% or so. Gotta go fix that. I should also probably put unbreaking on my shield. Actually, no. Before I do that, I have to put a design on my shield. I need to make one. Most likely gonna do another. Actually, I might do pink and black just so I can match my cape. Because I like my cape. Wow. There he goes. Okay. Oh. 20 viewers, holy shit. Says I'm at 13 right now. Maybe I was at 20 at one point, but on my end it's I'm at 13. Pretty awesome though. 13 is still a lot of people though, I will say. A lot of people. Okay, didn't land anywhere. Oh, thank God. Okay. Yeah, I just straight up went to the void. What an epic streamer person. Very cool. Thank you. I'm just chilling in Minecraft. That's for sure. So epic, OMG. Oh shit, we just hit 2,900 views. Nice. I'm at 218 followers too. I'm 2 away from 220. Pog Jam, thank you. Hey, yo, Cat, do me a favor. Get 2 more people to follow. Let's see if we can hit 220 in this stream. That'd be awesome. But yeah, good shit. We've hit 2,900 views. That's really cool. That's so close to 3,000. I needed 16 to guys follow. To anybody in chat who's watching that might not be followed or found my stream today, please follow. I do my best with these streams, especially when it comes to the quality, like my sound quality now and my camera quality. I was working on those for a bit, just because it looks nicer and it works like better. 26? 27. What did I name my helmet before? I don't remember. You know what I'm gonna name it? I'm gonna name it Head Empty. Oh, there goes that. I'll replace it. There we go. That's my end, bro. What am I gonna name my chest plate? Because I know what I'm gonna name my pants for sure. How much is it to name my pants, actually? 4? Okay, pog. What about my chest plate? How much would that be? Oh, it's only 8. Cool. What am I gonna name my chest plate? I don't know what I want to name my chest plate, I'm gonna be honest. Y'all better follow. Yeah, that's what I'll name it. There we go. Head empty, strong, relationship, and my Yeezys. Pog. Oh yeah, I'm breaking. I don't have enough XP to put it on. LMAO head empty. I know Eric would like that one. Okay. My bitrate's still good. I guess I don't have to put it on right now. I do want to make a banner for it though. Luckily enough, actually I need to make... I need to make sure. You know, my head stay empty. That's very true. Oh, my bad. The thing wasn't on. There we go. That's better. Now they should... Oh wait, I need to heal my tools. I only got some marbles rattling around in there. True. People like me too. Okay, that's fixed. That's fixed. That's fixed. This one. Nice, okay. All of that's fixed. Here. Up. Rip. See you later. Mace swamp would be like, you're on. Go fast as frick. Go fast I am, chat. I have maybe 2 brain cells and they hardly work. Mom said it's my turn on the brain cell. You had too much time. Bruh. Oh, I don't need that many pearls. I need to make a banner for my shield. Then I could put... Unbreaking on it, and then I'll put mending later. I already asked Lou to put it, to give me mending books, and they're probably far away already. Sheep. For the sheep. Don't remember what sheep are. Nobody's in VC yet, right? Ow. Ow. Am I dying? Thank you, Dan. Oh, they're all over here. Okay. I'm not looking at my screen right now, chat. Yeah, no one's in Mania. Okay, that's fair. Yo. Yeah, up. Farm. That's Amos' home. Farm is right. Yes, there it is, the sheep. Okay. I'm gonna need black and pink, so... Up. Up. He jumped overkill. Bonk. Thank you. Is that all of them? That is. Yes, now I just need pink. Pee-pee poo-poo. There he is. There's the pee-pee poo-poo man. Bruh. Let me also hydrate. Check right here. Real quick. Thank you for the pee-pee poo-poo check. Screen? Oh, I was about to kill them. No. I need to shear them. All of them? That's all of them. Do we have a thing for the call? What is it called? A loom. String? Pretty sure there's string around here. There should be loom in the dirt check. Oh, our castle? It's over this way, isn't it? That's the wrong way. Oh, there it is. I really need to mark down the base. You know, that's what I'm gonna do. Make a giant chicken. Maybe. I'm not that good at building, Eric. You know this. If I was, I would build a lot of things in Dragon. Who's in there? Oh, Sunny's in here. I scare Sunny. Hey, AFK. There is a loom. I guess just I'm gonna build a chicken and a Dragon SMP. Please do. Smack them? No, that's mean. I'm gonna eat in front of them, behind them. Bruh. I ate. Fuck. It's okay. Please. Hold on, chat. I am going to fix my camera really quick. Notice I'm not exactly in frame. Properties, figure, camera, pan. No, it's tilt, right? Is it? Oh, cool. Okay. Like that. Maybe I'll build a dragon statue eventually. Pog. Okay, it was that. Keep it like right there. And then pan, I'll have it right there. There we go. That's better. Discord? Oh, yo, hi, Jihan. If you poo poo again? Right there. Hey. Yeah, right there. My camera looks really good. Jeez. The lighting really helps. That's for sure. The lighting definitely helps. What is Sunny doing? It do? It does, yeah. What are they doing? Schmexy. In the meantime though, let me actually do my probably AFK. Maybe that'll get them. Up. Grab the table. Up. Bing. Bingo. Up. Deep. Cosmo, is your mic low or is it just me? It might be me. I mean, it might be you. My mic shouldn't be that low. It should be good. Maybe I have to turn up my gain a little bit. Yeah, Sunny probably is just AFK. So pink first. Oh, and then die. Mike sounds fine to me. Yeah. Ah, dang it. Cat, do you have dye in here? Bow, that's also what I need to make. And that's red. Oh, dang it, I didn't even need pink wool. I'll just put it in there for now. I don't think so. Dang, okay. I'm gonna yoink this. And then the string. I'm gonna put this, not my obsidian. Wool. Dang it. Oh, it was my actual computer sound. That was weird. I may be stupid, true. You have sticks. God damn, I didn't need to make shears either. Hey, what? I'm just answering your question. Oh, oh, that's magenta though. Don't want magenta, I want pink. I have a whole ass auto bamboo farm. Oh, that's right. Wait. You can make, can you make sticks out of bamboo? No, wait. I just need one more stick. You can make the sticks from that. Really? Sure. Bamboo. No. Oh, good job. Here. Bamboo. Chat, hold on. We are gonna take a quick break. Just for a bit. Bingus. Why does my camera look bad again already? Come on. Why does my camera hate me? Your video. It's my exposure. Keeps getting overexposed. Welcome back, streamer. Hi. I am back. My father just called. Just to say that he's going to bed already. That's why I had to put the stream on break really quick. Oop. Bingus. Hey, Bingus. Okay, oh yeah. Oh. Got to detect that much. Whoa, you can. Wait, that's cool. I didn't know you could do that. You know, that's gonna stay right there. It's too full already. I need to die. That's what I needed. Yep, I made the farm, so we pretty much have infinite fuel. That's true. Oh. Wait, I could use that for dye, can't I? Black dye, yes. This place is so cool. It is. That doesn't work correctly, chat. I feel stupid. Okay, don't you have one here? Wait, no, I need white dye. This is pretty calming music. What's it called? It's from Bee and Puppy Cat. Oh, I didn't realize it was like a specific song. I'll put it in chat if you wanna listen to it. That's what it is. What about this one? I like this one. This one's my favorite. This one on. Bone? Oh, it's a white dye. Put that there. Good job, Sonny. Thank you, yeah, for sure. But now I should be able to get the... Also, music's probably a little too loud. Where's the banner? Here's the banner. This here. There we go. I like this. That. Shame cube? Sunny! Bruh. Pink banner. What if I use a black dye? What can I make with this? Whoa. How would that work? How do you combine them again? Is it through here? Can you combine them? I don't know how to do this. Can it not combine them? What? Oh, wait. It's, hold on. I think I just figured it out. So I need white. I need a white dye. this. Up, up, up. I think I just figured that out. Hold on. I gotta go now, but I hope you have a lovely stream. Thank you. Thank you, cat. Oh, hi. Thank you. So now this and this. Ooh, I like that a lot. Whoa. Get some cool designs. I'm gonna take this. Then I could do. I guess I'll leave that in there. I need one more die. Oh wait, I didn't make it. Yikes. Who's playing Malahai? Turn that off. So I can do that. Then that. But I kind of like that. This is bootleg car. What are they talking about? This actually looks kind of cool. Down the bottom, it just looks weird. I want to keep it like that. Now, we could be like this. Oh, not that. That. Look at that, chat. That's actually kind of cool. I like that. Now I can put breaking, mending and unbreaking, mending and ender chest. Breaking, unbreaking. My anvil. That's okay. There we go. There we go. And then this. There we go. Very awesome. Cosmo becoming fancy as AF. I'm trying, alright? I'm trying. Flame. Infinity. Run. Power. Flame. Infinity. You get that trip. True. Need punch. I only have 9 emeralds though. Very awesome. I have my elytra now. Nice. So used to having an elytra. What I don't have is my trident. or fireworks. Got paper there. Don't know where the creeper farm is. I actually don't remember where it's at. I don't remember what's at. What was it? The fuck was I gonna do? Creeper? Oh man. What was I gonna do? I don't remember what I was gonna do, chat. I'm gonna be honest. Oh, I was gonna go to the villagers because I need to punch 2. That's what I was gonna do. The villager house is over there. I remember what I was gonna do. Oh, here it is. Who has punch 2? Not you. Not you. You're punch 1. Punch 2. 21. Okay, 21. What can I do to get more? Oh wait, I need to make my bow first. Anyone? I had 9 emeralds. Run. Poop the Gloobs, thank you for the follow. That's a funny name. Thank you for the follow. Very, very nice. If you don't mind me asking, how did you find my channel? SMP is sick. Yeah, this SMP is awesome. I love it so much. I've only been here for like 2 days, but it's really cool. I need 12 emeralds. I suppose I should make my bow already. Wait, no, that makes a fishing rod. I found you my recommended, really? Isn't it like bop, bop, bop? How the fuck? Can you make a bow again? Bow and arrow. Oh, it was that way. Okay, well, I had enough. Wait, really? And you recommended? That's awesome. Good to. That's actually really cool to know that I can be in people's recommended. Nice. But yeah, so this isn't my SMP. I own it as I own an SMP myself as well. But this is another one that I was invited to not too long ago. I got started 2 days ago or so. May notice I'm in full enchanted netherite. I grinded the first day I got here. But yeah, I have my own SMP that I run as well, called Dragon SMP. And that one has been around since November last year, which is really cool. But this one I was invited to recently, and this one's called Mania SMP. I know I can give you some. I can always get iron later. Okay, I'll give you as much as I can. Dang, okay. You No, I don't really need iron. I'll use the rest. Get more iron later. I need one more. That's okay. What goes there? 17. How much was it? 21? Was it here? Yeah, 21. I need a little more. I have to do it by giving you guys sticks. I know, you're not. Oh wait, I could do it with wheat. I am gonna go get more wheat. Hold quick, chat. There's wheat over this way. Wait, do I need that much? I need one more. Okay. Okay. Boy. There. Okay. There it is. There's the beat. What the? Okay, Mr. Sheep. Because you're built different? True. I am built different. Okay. Oh. Good thing I have a hoe on me. My leg is a sore. Did you work out today? I'm assuming that's the reason. One more. Need one more. Boom. There it is. Okay. Hope it feels better soon though. Agreed, agreed. I'm gonna change music really quick. How about this? Yeah. I'll deal with this. Might be a little too loud though. I have the same boom arms as your squeak. Sort of, yeah. Just, you know, it's not that annoying to me. There we go. One, and I can make a book. Nice. Nope, that's punch. One. I need two. Whoops. It's you. There we go. Mine is so loud. Yikes. That's not good. Okay. I more than likely have to go back to Enderman Farm. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Put my elytra on for now. Yep. Okay, the portal's right there. Was yours just a bad boom arm or what? Because mine isn't that loud. Go here. Ah, back. Oh, it came from the other way. Nice. Okay. Let's chat. This is a reminder. If you haven't stretched yet, stretch. I'll go my camera down a little, just like that, so I can sit back. That feels better. You asshole. Redeem stretch. I got you. I got you. Stretch, you say? I did. I did say that. An hydration check, bro. Okay, Jen. Okay. I'll take a hydration check. Damn, that was close. It was really close. Nice. He's mad. Why are you mad? Why are you mad? Why are you mad? Why are you mad? Get off. Why is he mad? You know what? Screw this. Might. Why are you mad, bro? That's what I'm asking. Okay, they're not here. Oh, great, he's mad. Whatever, he can't catch me in the water. Okay, he'll come up right here. Daddy, you're stupid. There he is. You're a bitch. Oh, that's why you're dead. Look at me go, chat. I'm fast. Yo, here we are again, chat. Whoever left it on, yikes. There we go, just so it isn't as loud. Ah, get out of here. Alright, let's see how much we can do here. I don't need that stick. I don't need the string. Oh, the string didn't fall. Okay. There you go. Oh wait, I need another unbreaking. Ooh, okay. I'll have to make more books to get unbreaking. Pee pee poo poo check. Another one? These are here. Ow, I'm getting hurt. But wait. There he is. Pee pee poo poo. Thank you. Wait, why isn't my thing zoomed in anymore? What the hell? That's not what's supposed to happen. Why doesn't my thing ever save? Oh. Okay. That's so annoying. There we go. I guess I can move myself back into center. That's the wrong thing. Hog. I can leave it like that. There we go. There we go. Now I'm in center. Wait, how come they can't teleport out of there? Because okay, so they fall down from, let me see if I can show you. It's the same thing with the one Dragon SMP. So you see how far they are? So up there, I can't actually go up there myself, but all the way up there, there's a tiny Endermite, which Endermen hate. It is in a, I'm down my music really quick. So there's an Endermite in the cart right there being displayed, and Endermen hate Endermites for some reason. So what they're doing is they have it in a cart like on display, and then the Endermen see it and they go through it and they fall all the way down there, and by the time they land, they're one hit. So even if I like get like an Ender Pro, it'll kill them one hit all times. So with my sword, because it has sweeping edge, they usually all die. They're all one hit. That's why they can't teleport, because they're too tall and they can't shift. Me. Everybody has the same reaction. Speaking of which, pop. Like, I think I could make a couple of books. Actually, can I combine this one with the book? So where it only puts for unbreaking? Oh, no. Okay, yeah, no. Those poor Rambus. Yeah, rip them. I've killed so many of these. If I go to my statistics and look at mobs, I've killed 13,000 Endermans. That's crazy. I've killed that many Endermen, chat. That should be enough. Yeah, I was able to make 17 books. I don't have any lapis though. I wish I was good at Minecraft, and I've been playing for years. I was as well, but I recently got back into Minecraft though. Falling in there. Protection. Yeah, there's no breaking. Like since it came out, I've been playing since around there as well, but not as like consistently. I just need unbreaking, please. It's not unbreaking. Chat, I need more. I need more lapis. I play mainly on Bedrock because I lost my Java account. That's fair. That's fair. I want to get a Java account again because I need a PC because my laptop is trash. Felt that. Discord. Oh, Jenna's live. Nice. Oh, she's been live for a while. Hog. Hog you. Hog you. Hope you get it soon, Phoenix. I agree. Alright, chat. So the plan is we are gonna go get more lapis really quick and get unbreaking and finish my bow, and then we're gonna raid. Actually, I'll have to check who's live right now. Who is live? Lofi's live. I mean Sophie. Evelyn as well. Rue Crack. So we have to. It's down to 2 people. It's down to Sophie or to Jenna. I do want to raid Jenna though. I just need lapis. There we go. Please tell me you have lapis in here. Uptime 2 hours. Dang, we're about to be live for 3 hours. No, she doesn't have. Doesn't have lapis. I can't take from that. No, I can't. Need lapis. Nope. God, I need lapis now. I'm gonna check Mimi's base. Speaking of which, it's over there. I'm pretty sure Mimi has some lapis. Mimi said it's okay with them for me to take it. 8-ball is chat poggers. Says it's decidedly so. Pog. You love to see it. There he is. I don't know what that means, 8-ball. It means that we are poggers. Flat. Bees. Yeah, she's got bees. I mean, they've got bees. They've got everything in here. Not seeing lapis though. Out of the seas. Just need lapis. Lapis. Thank you, Mimi. That's a lot of cats. It is. But you know what I say? Not enough cats. That's what I say. Extra protection, obviously. True. Jen's got a point. Oh. Not me hitting my thing. Oh, I just realized my sub thingy didn't go off because I don't have stream elements open. Again. Like stupid I am. Desktop. Utilities. Stream labels. My bad, stream labels, not stream elements. Here. We're gonna refresh the session. There it is. Now the follower's up. Phew, okay. What's your favorite animal? Goes for anyone who wants to answer. I like birds. Specifically, like, oh, hi. See you later. Yeah, I like birds. Birds are really cool. Don't you dare look at me. Don't, nope, nope. I don't know what it hit. Yikes, it's hitting things. Dolphin or cat? Or dragon from mythological? Nice. It is. No. What the? Mine is an elephant? Ooh, very nice. Simon, that must mean you have an amazing memory. Did you know how the saying goes? Elephants are like have like the best memory or whatever. Heck yeah. Okay. Enough. OMG. For a second I was psyched out. Bruh. Oh. Turn it back on. There we go. I think for mythological Phoenixes are mine, and for axolotls are really cool. God, I wish I have a Rambo memory. So that makes you the main character, I'm assuming? Confirmed, Simon is the main character. I knew it. No. Is that enough for 41? That's enough for 41. Books. Don't need the place where it's just right now. Okay, my stream is still up. Good. The one I wanted. This one I'm breaking. Actually. Whoa, okay. That is not what I expected. Oh, there we go. Okay. Power 4. And then we need them breaking. Put that there. That there. This here. Mood, Puck mood. Come on, give me a breaking. Bruh. I'm gonna run out of books. 54. Nah, I don't really need a 54. Hey boss, today Wednesday for New Jersey time thingy. Concentrate and ask again. Did I not tell you? Bruh. Interesting. Chat, I don't think we're gonna get it. I'm gonna be honest. I think music as well. This is gonna... Me and iPod are not on good terms. This is actually so sad. Didn't get a chat. Well, chat, we gotta get more paper. Yep, need more paper. 8-Ball, you mad at Phoenix? Outlook good. Oh, no, 8-Ball is mad at you. Yikes. Might be a little too loud. That should be good. Is this Kazuma Duba Schmexy? Says ask again later? Bruh. Nightbot is in mood today, true. Nightbot is sassy, damn. Nightbot does not like anybody today. Oh wait, I'm here. I can easily get. Okay. This way. Nope, I was wrong. It's this way. Never mind. It was this way. You love me, Nightbot? Says most likely. Uh-oh. I didn't break that, did I? British, I didn't break that. That's not supposed to happen. Where's the rail? Uh-oh, that's not good. Did I not put my lights on? What the hell? I'm sorry, Nightball, do you forgive me? That's not supposed to happen. I'm pretty sure Mimi has powered rails somewhere. Oh, paper. Oh. Yikes. Oh wait, no, not powered rails, just rails. Any rails? How do you make rails? Bonk. Thank you. I'm pretty sure Mimi has rails. Just for when stuff like this happens. Hopefully, no rails. Yoink, yoink. Actually, let me make the books right now. Oh, perfect. I don't need those extra papers. Please tell me you have rails. Mimi? No, not Mimi, Cat. I'm getting names confused. I need encouragement to do my project. Is your project the what the? Oh, I made it. Is your project the one you're telling me about? Because if so, you need to do it. Like, think of it as like this. As soon as you get it done, you don't have to worry about doing it later. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to borrow one of these. Will Phoenix be able to get through the project? Says yes. Oh, look at that. Gotta do it now. There we go. There it is, chat. But there's no water in there anymore. There was water in there. I don't know how to fix it. I'll tell Kat about it later. She can't hop on right now. She is busy with school. Now I have to do it? Yeah, yes, please. Ow. Let me change music. You know what? I'm feeling Coconut Mall. Huh? Oh no. I'm feeling Coconut Mall, chat. Glad. There you go. Glad. Can't go any faster than that. What did my phone keep going off? Chill. I know Jenna's though. What's your favorite Minecraft mob? I want to say the parrots. Parrots are really cute. especially minor bees. Bees are like, I would say second up there. The bees in Minecraft are pretty cute, but I like the parrots, especially when you have a jukebox next to them and you play music. They dance. It's the cutest thing ever. Nah, I'll take efficiency 4. Why not? Take a power 4 actually. Please, I just need unbreaking. It's unbreaking 1. I like it to be. I'm honestly not sure. If we're talking about like, okay, so I'm gonna talk about how, like, with the new upcoming Minecraft and stuff, I want to say Axolotl will probably take second place and bees will go to the third. Okay, for my overworld, my favorite is bees, but for nether is zombified piglin. I like the piglins. For the nether, for me, it's probably the striders, just because they look funny. But you can ride them. Wait. Okay, that should be enough. I just need unbreaking, please. This is not what I want. This is literally not what I want. Hey game, I'm finally here. Yo! What's up? Please, I just want Unbreaking 3. That is not Unbreaking 3. Come on! Bro, this game hates me. Nothing much. Didn't know you were streaming? Yeah, I've been streaming for 3 hours now. Not bad. Bet. Yeah. Watch. Looking. Oh, thank you, Phoenix. I was just about to do that. Ow. Just switch music. What's fun to play? What's fun to play? Oh, this is the one. Should be enough. Thank you, Eric. Yo, Earthbound OST. Yes, sir. I like the OST. Still need to get around to Mother 3. Felt though. I haven't played it at all. I guess I'm just not gonna get them breaking. Uh-oh. Through my Power 4 book. Whatever. I have the other ones here. I guess I could always put Unbreaking. I have it right here. Unbreaking and then another Power 4 book together, and then that should be fine. That's fine, that's fine. Okay. Book. This. Oh, whoops. Huh? I don't know. Uh-huh. Yikes. Okay, it costs 17. There we go. There we go. Or we could be like, oh. Let's hit it back to me. Cool. Get a couple more XP, just because why not? I am gonna leave the lapis in there. Throw away that diamond. Couple, because it's useless. Turn that off. Go to the overworld. If it's nighttime, we can kill a skeleton really quick, just so I can get a bow, considering I have infinity. And I'll finally have a bow again, which I need to put right there. There we go. That's better. Plus I have a stack and a half of spectral arrows from that entire trade process, which, might I add, was horrible. Still sucks that I couldn't get Soul Speed 3 on my boots, but it's not the end of the world. But if I ever get bored enough, I could just disenchant the boots and then remake them. Oh wait, Cat's bound to have some arrows in here that I could just yoink. Right there. Look at that. Boom, that's it. That's all I need. Hog. Nice, I got it. I shot myself. That's funny. That's fun. Oh, look at that. I'm glowing. I'm glowing, chat. How long does it last? That one more time. Last 10 seconds? Wow. You do be glowing though. You do be kind of shiny. Okay, put my chestplate back on. I think that's it for today's stream, at least. That was fun. I enjoyed it. This screen. There we go. Hog. I do want to rate Sophie. I see that she's live right now. Hog, true. How long has Sophie been live for? That's my question. Building a post office in viewer SMP. Oh, she's in SMP as well. Hydration check and stretch. I gotcha. I gotcha. I keep forgetting Apex Legends is on Switch. Not gonna lie. Well, she's been live for about almost 3 hours as well. Nice. Very cool. Okay. And then I'll stretch. I got you, chat. Okay. We are gonna raid Sophie. Before so, I'm gonna change the music really quick. I want this one. It's on Switch? Yeah, apparently it is. Kind of weird. I'll put my webcam up a little bit. There we go. Yeah, I didn't know it was on Switch until I saw like an ad not too long ago. There it is, there it is. I keep forgetting that Lofi has 2 eyes in it rather than just one. But yeah, chat, we're gonna be raiding Sophie. She's still live playing Minecraft as well, and it's always a pleasure watching her doing her stream, and I know a lot of my viewers like her stuff as well. So yeah, thank you for showing up. I might be doing more Mania streams as well. Especially if it comes to like lore stuff, like once they get that like sorted out and like organized, I suppose. I will be doing that, but I'll also continue doing Dragon SMP stuff as well. One of our mayoral arc should be coming pretty soon, hopefully. We'll have to figure that out again, like I said before, but I'm very excited about it. So my viewers can be able to follow Dragon SMP lore, and then same thing with Mania now that I'm a part of that. Because I'm definitely going to be like more active, well not more active, but active in that server. Just because it's a lot of fun, and a lot of the people there are super cool. But yeah, thank you for showing up, and I'll catch everybody later.